Hello everyone, my name is Bree and welcome to Document a Journey. Today we are going to finish up the sketchbook. This is an Etcher A5 landscape size sketchbook. The paper in here is phenomenal, love it. I dislike this cover, something fierce. It is canvas, it is white, and it is just not for me. I do have one of these left, but I'm going to finish this up so I can move on to something else, and it's not going to be this A5 portrait. It's going to be something completely different. I do have a few spreads left in this sketchbook, and I'd love for you to join me as we sketchbook through the end of this thing. I will say that my patrons knew that I had tons of this footage, and so they provided me with some questions so that way I could chat a little bit while I painted. If you have any questions after this video, please leave in the comments below. I'd love to pop them into the next video. And without further ado, let's finish this bad boy up. Hello, and welcome to the voiceover portion of the video. My patrons were so kind to provide me with some questions that I can add in here for you, so you're not just watching painting and listening to music. You also get to listen to my voice. I know. Also, these questions are pretty amazing. So if you have any advice, I would love to chat with you about that in the comments. So go ahead and leave those down below. And extra special thank you to my patrons if I haven't said that already. So let's get started. The first question says, what do people do when they get frustrated at the end result of an art project? This person is participating in a workshop, and she was following along with the instructor, and she was just finding herself being so frustrated that she couldn't get the technique, and she's tried it 3 or 4 times, and she just wants to know if this happens to other people. Does it happen to me? And what do people do when they feel like this? So that prompted a pretty good discussion on my Patreon, and of course people popped in saying that they too struggle with things like this. You're not alone. And if I was so bold, I'd say everyone struggles with this. And of course it happens to me as well. I don't think that it's about getting the project to look a certain way. I mean, if you think about it, how many times has that instructor done that technique before they even decide to teach it to you? It's definitely not just 3 or 4 times. So what I would do is I would look at it as a tool in your toolbox. Your skills are growing with every added tool. So no matter what, if you use them all the time or correctly at all, it's still growing. So it's just another tool to keep in your toolbox to help you grow along the way. I don't think that it is something that you absolutely have to master in that workshop or during that session. I think that it's just something that you keep in the back of your brain, and you think, okay, I'm going to keep practicing this and I'll figure it out. It's just kind of like with everything else. People talk about, oh, wow, you're so good at watercolor, how you're so talented. No, it's not about talent. It's about practice. I practice every day. I map out time so that way I can paint and I can sketch, and the more I do it, the better I get. And you can see that if you go back to my very first few videos, you can see the progress that I've made. Those videos and my sketches, some people could say were complete crap. And I would probably agree with them, but that is my growth that I have documented. And I think that you're doing the exact same thing. You might not be making videos about it and sharing it to the world, but you are making sketches and taking workshops and doing all that to grow. So again, just think of it like a tool in your toolbox. All right, question number 2. What can I do each day to improve both my ink sketching and watercolor skills? I kind of talked about that in the previous question, but my suggestion is to sketch every day. Draw your day. Draw little things during the day. Even if it's just 10 minutes, use your sketchbooks. I have a off-camera journal that my Patreons get to see, so it's really not off-camera, but they don't see the process of me working through it, but they definitely see the illustrations and the sketches that come out of it. And sometimes I share it on Instagram, but that thing I pick up daily and I sketch in. I used to sketch in my journal, and you might have seen that in some of my flip throughs of my Hobonichi when I used the A6. But I used to do a daily sketch every day of something little that kind of piqued my interest, and then I would write about the day. So that is my best advice, is to practice. Practice whatever you want to do to be good at. So if that is ink sketching and watercolor, or if that is gouache and colored pencil, or oils, whatever the case may be, if you aren't practicing, you're never going to get better. You can watch someone do something all day long, but that doesn't mean that you actually understand how to do it. You could explain how to do it, but you actually have to put your pen or your paintbrush to your paper and try it. Okay, question number 3. How did you start making art? I feel like this is very open-ended, but I'm excited for it because we have some video to go through, and I'm only 7 minutes in. So, how did I start making art? Well, I was pretty lucky. My family is very creative, I will say. So most of you know that my mom is also an art education major. She has her art degree. She never actually taught or used it, but she has it. She went to school for it. My dad is, he took drafting classes and he worked as a construction manager, really creative, and I actually use his drafting pencil a lot in my work to sketch out my images first. And then also, I could name like a handful of other people. My grandfather, my aunt, my other aunt. They are all very crafty and artistic in their own way as well. And so honestly, it was just already part of their life before I came into the world. And so they just shared their knowledge and their love of art with me. I can remember early age, I loved coloring. I loved drawing from different, what were those, VHS tapes. I did a lot of color pencil. I don't think that I actually started watercolor until 2005 maybe, but I mean, I was an art education major, so I was doing tons of different art, and anywhere from large sculpture, ceramics, jewelry making to oil painting. I kind of have done it all, but that is kind of my start with making art. I would say my start with doing what I do now, as far as sketchbooking and painting with watercolor, I really owe it to my husband. He purchased a set of watercolors for me, a Schminke set, and then I went ahead and took a Alyssa Burke class called Sketchbook Delight, I think it was, and that got me started with painting and everything like that. Before that, I was into journaling, and I did a lot of sketches in my journals, but they were mainly ballpoint pen. There was no paint, not really any color. So I was really thrilled when I found watercolor. The next question is, what was the first art you remember that challenged you? I can remember every single project challenging me. I don't think that art isn't challenging. You're constantly making decisions, and it's not only a challenge for me, but I feel like it's also very fun. I love problem solving, and I feel like that is what art is about, how to problem solve. I mean, just looking at this painting, for instance, I am choosing different color greens to make sure that each individual leaf stands out. That is problem solving. That takes some sort of your brain to function in a way to make sure that it is turning out how you kind of see it in your head, and most of the time it doesn't even turn out like that. So, I mean, it is always a challenge, no matter it be something that I am struggling with or something that is kind of coming easy, it's still always challenging. All right, one more question for this voiceover portion, and then we're going to get to a real-time chatty bit, and then I'll pop back on for the voiceover. It says, what has your own personal art journey been like? I would say that at the beginning, I was very insecure about my art. I was very lucky to have an art teacher who took interest in me. She actually, it was personal interest at first. She knew my family, and part of my family that I didn't get to meet. My grandmother passed away before I was born, so she knew my grandmother. So I had this connection to her. So at the beginning, I felt that it was, I don't know, I felt drawn to her, and so I felt really comfortable in her presence and in her room, and so I had a strong bond with her. But when it comes to, this was high school, so when it comes to having all this creative energy and then also presenting it in high school, I felt really insecure, sadly. I felt like I wasn't good enough, even though I was technically someone that was known as a creative. I just felt like my stuff could be better. I could practice more. I chose not to, sadly, because I actually chose to be involved in sports and athletics. I say sadly, but really ultimately, I loved that aspect of my life too. So at the time of high school, like I said, I was pretty insecure. Then moving into college, I knew what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to become an art teacher, and I pursued that. I made great friends in that situation, and I felt really confident in myself and where I was going. I became a teacher and felt really confident as a mentor to high school kids, and I coached, and my art really kind of went into sketchbooks at that point, and I just had a blast teaching kids how to document their life in different ways. It was really fun. Then I moved out here to Colorado, and things were different. I wasn't teaching anymore. I was a parent, and it was harder. I struggled to find my community, and so I came to YouTube. And with YouTube, that's a whole nother discussion in itself, and this journey through YouTube and how that's going. So I'm going to leave that there, and if you want to know more about my experiences through YouTube, let me know in the comments below. Okay, so I am trying to finish this sketchbook up. I did this yesterday and I kind of finished it today. I am trying to do like a fuzzier background and then come back in and have like a focal point. I think what I'm gonna end up trying is gouache. And I left this page blank because I don't know what I'm doing on it. I was going to do like this big old long spread, and now I'm just not into it, and I'm struggling to get there. So I gave gouache with watercolor a try. You saw that. I think it's very simple. I don't know how else to explain that because, you know, with my style, I have a more of a, I don't know, sketchier style with, it's weird because it's a sketchy style, but yet it has detail to it because the ballpoint pen that I'm using creates this detailed effect. So with this, I used a fine liner and I just outlined all the things, right, as I throw it on the ground. Well, with the lemons, let me pick that up. With the lemons, I went into it and did the whole background and kind of like put down color, as you saw. And then I'm going back into it with ballpoint pen. And of course, I'm loving it because this is my comfort zone. But I want to get away from, I don't know what I want. I want to get away from it, almost like I want to make things stand out with gouache. I just haven't found it yet. You know what I mean? So I'm still messing with it. Maybe for this spread that I haven't done anything with, maybe I will do some kind of spread that has a background and then put something in the foreground. Kind of like, I don't know. I have to figure this out, but technically this is going to be my last page in here. And for some reason in this sketchbook, it has been such a challenge. And I even went on Instagram this morning and I was like, I need help. Give me motivation to finish this sketchbook. And so I keep double checking Instagram to see all the awesome comments that people are leaving me and little ways that could help me finish it. But I'm just struggling. One person said do 15 minutes and just see what you do. I don't know what it is. I don't think that it's because this book is landscape. What I really think what it is I enjoy the paper in the Stillman and Birn sketchbook. And I enjoy the size of the big size. And I just want to paint and mess around in there. I feel like this is limiting, which, I mean, there's space. Don't get me wrong, there's space. But for some reason, I just feel like it's limiting. So we still have to finish the lemons. And then we have one whole other page that we could do something on. I just don't know what yet. You know, it's funny because I have this painting in here that I absolutely love, and it is gouache. But for some reason, I can't wrap my head around gouache today. I don't know why. Like, I need this type of thing where I put down the ballpoint pen and I just paint where the ballpoint pen is. And maybe that's just it. Maybe I'm just pushing myself a little too hard, and I just need to relax about it. So anyway, we are moving on. We're gonna do these lemons and see what happens. And who knows, maybe I add gouache on top of the lemons where the ballpoint pen is, and maybe the sketchy ballpoint pen will stick in the background. I have no idea, but let's do this. And I'm back with my voiceover. Next question. I think I've said that every time. If that's annoying, I'm sorry. What do you look for in sketchbook paper? What is your favorite paper? Okay, so I don't think that I have found my favorite paper or favorite sketchbook. I have many that I like that I keep repurchasing, mainly Stillman and Birn, the Zeta series. Love that sketchbook. However, it doesn't do well when you're taping it. I tend to peel the tape up and then peel the paper up as well. That's my biggest holdup with that paper. The glue situation when you're working with watercolor kind of sucks because, you know, the glue messes the watercolor up. Like you can't watercolor over glue. So that's an issue, but I really do like the Zeta paper that Stillman and Birn produces. The next one is I really enjoy Strathmore Mixed Media, but I actually prefer the 300 series. The 500 series is what you can get in the Mixed Media softcover sketchbooks. I like it, but I like the 300 series better. I think that the paper is smoother, and so my ballpoint pen, which I use a lot, glides across that paper like butter. Not really, but it glides across the paper really nicely. And I guess if I had to pick one paper, it would be that. But I really want to try different sketchbooks. Like I have my eye on the Dingbats journals. They have a B5 and I want a blank one, preferably the cactus. And then I also want to try a Royal Talon sketchbook. I've heard those are pretty nice too. So I don't know. I haven't found my favorite so far, but I would say at the moment I can deal with a Zeta Stillman and Birn. That's a really nice sketchbook, and I do still buy the Strathmore Mixed Media 500 series. Okay, so getting to the other part of the question, which was what do you look for in sketchbook paper? I personally look for a hot press paper, so smooth texture. Hot press means smooth, cold press means textured. And then so I like the hot press. I also look for over 100-pound paper. It's just a little thicker than a normal just, sketching paper. So more of a mixed media style paper. And then if I was going for a sketchbook, I definitely look for how it's bound. I like it to lay flat I mean, who doesn't? I also like it to not have so much glue that it kind of runs onto the pages. I like that there is, if it lays flat, most likely it's bound in signatures and has more of a Coptic style binding. And I prefer that. I actually really enjoy making my own sketchbooks. I'm just sometimes lazy. Who isn't? So anyway, that is pretty much what I look for. I'm not too picky as far as the paper goes. I'm more picky on the sketchbook and its construction. This next question is a great question. I feel like it is asked all the time, and I feel like I never have a great answer. How do you decide what to sketch? So a lot of times I just say I sketch what's right in front of me, and that is no joke. I will see what my kids are doing and I'll sketch them. The other day they were playing Pokemon, and so that's what I sketched. I will sketch the flowers that I put in a vase this morning. I will sketch what's outside my window. I will go as far as to look what's on my desk and see all my supplies and sketch those. I tend to gravitate towards florals, so if I find something online or if I see that someone posted like a picture of them holding a like a bouquet of flowers, I will screenshot that and I will draw that later. I have a album on my phone that is just filled with things that I have taken, like photos that I've taken when I'm walking, or filled with photos that I've screenshotted from someone's stories of photos they've taken of flowers or anything like that. I don't really know how I decide. I just flip through that album on my phone and I go from there. I have been trying really hard to sketch more from life instead of photographs. I feel like I need work on that, so I'm practicing. I'm also practicing sketching just with pen and not with pencil. That is going to take some time. But to answer the question, really, what do I decide, or how do I decide what to sketch? I go with what feels right in the moment. Oh, that's such a bad answer. But, I think the tricks are that you have a plethora of images or just ordinary objects. I know that ordinary, everyday objects may seem boring to you, but I look back at some of my sketches, and I have like some sketches of carrots in this journal that I'm working in, and I'm like, yes, I love that I sketched the carrots that I got at the farmer's market. Just things like that. It just brings back memories, and I think that if you sketch everyday objects in your actual world, it brings back a memory and it makes that sketch so much more special to you. All right, so my last question is, are you familiar with the term artist dates by Julia Cameron? Do you ever take yourself on them? And if so, where do you go and what do you do? I am 100% familiar with that term, and I would say that yes, I take myself on artist dates. I also would say that no, I don't always leave my house. I know that sounds crazy, but I have 2 kids under 8 and I homeschool them, and I have a husband who works from home, so we are very much homebodies. I will take time and tell everyone in the house, hey, I'm taking some time to myself, and I will go in my bedroom and I will sit at my desk and I will paint. That to me is an artist date because I am doing art by myself. Now, I do have a lovely group of sketch walk ladies and gentlemen that we gather at times, and we go to the botanical gardens or we go to a coffee shop and we kind of just hang out. One time we went on a little, I won't want to say hike, but we went on a little walk and we found some places to paint. I like doing that as well. There's no particular spot that I like best. It just seems that for the past couple years, it's been my desk. However, I would love to do more of going out into the world and sketching. It's getting warmer here in Colorado, and so it would be really nice to take my sketchbook and some paints and head out to dinner and eat dinner on, outside and sketch people walking by or whatever the case may be. My family is really understanding when it comes to my sketchbook. They understand that it is kind of like my third arm. It's always with me. And so if I whipped that out during dinner and we were out and about, they wouldn't even think anything of it. So I am lucky for that. But I think that is all the questions that I have today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I am so excited to finish this sketchbook and move on to something new, and I can't wait to share with you what that is. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, maybe add a comment down below, answering some of these questions yourself and starting a discussion with us. I love hearing from you. I do respond to every comment that I get because you are important to me. I wanted to give an extra shout out to my patrons. I love them. They make this possible here on YouTube. They make it possible for me to post videos. I'm trying to do every week, but post videos regularly. And I will see you in my next one.